Yeah, it's just gone 5 o'clock there, so we will start off now. So, just like to welcome everyone in the waiting room or in the webinar listening at the minute. We have Anya Farley and Bridget Corrigan, advisors with the PE team for junior secondary teachers, with us this evening. My name is Jared Duff, team leader for physical education, and I'm going to hand it over to Anya now, who's going to kick off the webinar for us this evening. Over to you, Anya. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to follow up on what Jared has said, you're all very welcome here, and we'll aim to get started quite promptly now in a moment. We'll just invite anybody throughout the session, if at any stage you have a question or something that arises, something that you're not sure on, feel free to pop it into the chat, either using the chat function or the Q&A function. So we mightn't answer questions kind of as we're going along, but we've allocated specific time at the end of the session to answer all questions, and some may be organically kind of, answered as we go along, but we'll make sure to address them all before the webinar finishes this evening. But just before we begin, I'd like to welcome everybody. It's great to have you here with us, and we're delighted to be engaging with everybody today. Obviously, today was a very exciting day in the PE landscape in Ireland. It was the day of the PE Expo, which is a wonderful festival of learning for physical education. And although the JCT PE team weren't in a position to be able to attend today, we have heard excellent reports from our colleagues who were in attendance. So we hope that anybody who attended the PE Expo had a great day today.
Hey, thank you, Anya and Jared. And we just get straight into it, guys. And good evening to everyone again. Our webinar tonight is an exploration of the use of a digital planner in physical education. So you're all very welcome to the webinar, which runs until 6 p.m. and it is being recorded. So I am Bridget Corrigan, as you can see on the screen there, and physical education advisor with the Junior Cycle for Teachers Support Service. And I'll be your host with this session tonight. And along with me in the room are my colleagues and co-hosts already introduced, Anya Farley and Jared Duff. So during the webinar, we will explore the use of Excel as a digital planner and share feedback on the potential of this planning tool in implementing the new 135-hour physical education specification in the classroom based on early insights from preliminary engagement with the tool across the education sector. So this event will also celebrate publication of the Excel planning tool, alongside a series of supporting materials for the tool now on the JCT Physical Education webpage. My colleague Anya will share a link to the webpage into the chat shortly, and a QR code option will also be made available for accessing the Excel planner itself. So before we get started, we're going to start with the poll and to get a read on the room about the question that you can see on the screen. Which format do you use for planning in your school, digital or paper? So we can then share the results. And just as Anya has already mentioned, if you do have any questions throughout the session, please just pop them into the chat and we'll try and answer them then as best as we can. Okay, so I think we'll just leave it running away there while I move along with the structure of this session itself. So this is the structure of the webinar. We will start with identifying existing paper-based planning resources. Some of these were shared during the recent PE Online CPD Day and are all up on the JCT PE website. A link to that with those resources Anya might pop that into the chat there now. The Excel digital planner itself will be shared via a QR code and a link into the chat shortly for everyone's use during the webinar, if that's an option for you. And then we will share some experiences based on preliminary trials of the digital planner. And finally, then we'll invite your thoughts through a feedback form and questions and answers at the end. So that's the overall structure of our session. So we're going to get straight into the first part, so the paper-based resources available for planning. So as mentioned already that there were a number of paper-based options that we did share on our recent CPD Day. So 3 paper-based options in particular that can be used for planning a unit of learning, and they were shared as I said already on our CPD Day. And the first option is this poster, and it focuses on planning with learning outcomes where specific considerations are identified. And these considerations remind us of what is important in planning with colleagues. And starting from the orange box at the top left corner, moving clockwise around the poster, the considerations are summarised as to use a non-linear integrated approach in planning a unit of learning by selecting learning outcomes from across strands. Have a shared understanding of what is to be learned in a unit. Consider how evidence of learning is gathered, ensuring alignment between assessment and learning. And finally, draw on prior learning experiences. So this is one poster that we did share on our PE day, but this is not specific to PE. It is something that you may well be using already across your school and across different subject areas. So the second paper-based planning option is this poster resource designed for the new junior cycle physical education specification by the JCT PE team and provides a fundamental approach to planning. So the poster gives an overview of the specification itself, summarizing 6 pages in the spec, and the Venn diagram representation of how the strands are interconnected, underpinned by the elements, speaks to the non-linear integrated approach described in the specification. The poster also gives the 28 learning outcomes grouped by strands and the associated 14 action verbs definitions. And the new PE specification emphasizes planning for a non-linear integrated approach in learning, and this resource offers practical support with this. So the third paper-based planning resource here helps with steps through the process of planning and has 2 parts, as you can see there on screen, and this resource can be used to guide thinking through the process by providing prompt questions to challenge rationale behind planning, either at the start or of the process or throughout. So that was just a reminder and kind of link back into those resources that are out there that we've described them as paper-based. They are up on our website in our CPD resource section. And Anya has shared the link into the chat there already. So just before I move on into this section here, I might just share the results from our poll there, digital or planning or paper planning. And you can see there on screen that we have 77% of the room here are saying they are engaging with digital planning and 23% engaging with paper planning. So thanks very much to everybody for their input in that. And have a little think yourself, are there any surprises about that? Just as we then move in and explore the Excel digital planner here that has been designed for use with the new 135 PE specification. So I'll start with sharing the Excel digital planner here via the QR code on the screen now. Anya's going to pop the link into the chat directly that you might like to open the planner on a second device using the QR code, but do note that if you are using a mobile device, some will have limited Excel functioning. The link is also shared, as I said, into the chat, but both links will bring you to the JCT PE website planning section, where you'll also find other resources related to the webinar that will be useful after this session. So scroll to the digital Excel digital planner, click and download the Excel planner to your device. I'm going to bring over an online version of how this will work, so we can all do this together for the set. So the link that you got there should bring you straight to the PE website. And as you can see online, the other resources that I just mentioned there, that we have an Excel digital planner information in a PDF format. There's also video support there, and that has been that the PE Excel digital planner is based on the original Excel digital planner designed by the technologies team. And a big thanks to the guys in the technology team who have adapted this planner for use with the PE, and in particular for Declan Regan's input and in collaboration with the PE team through this process. You can see then on the right side there, that paper-based resource that I just mentioned, the planning tool poster designed by the JCT PE team, is also here, which can be useful. But finally, it's this Excel digital planner is the one that we want to click on and download. And let's just follow the path and see what happens when you do that. So straight away, you can see it brings me to my download, download on my locally, and it's asking me, I'm going to make sure I know where it's actually going to go. So it's going to go to my downloads. And when I click save there, you can then see that it has indeed arrived on the bottom of the page on the web page, the JCT web page. So if you click on that now and open that, and hopefully this is all still happening on the screen for you. And if it doesn't, I will ensure I bring it over myself. So just bear with me now. Okay, so this is what has probably opened up for you. And you can see that immediately the first thing that will get your attention is that this enable editing, that you have a protected view, enable editing. And what you need to do then is when you click on that into the background, you will see a pink backgrounded tab that is saying security risk. Okay, all right, so we're going to come back to that now in a couple of minutes. So let me just move that back off the screen there for the moment. I'm also just going to drag this web page back over here as well for the moment. Click them down. And return to the presentation. Okay, so we'll come back to the downloaded version and just follow and track that now in online. But for now, for the moment, sorry, I just want to go back to So before we go through the features of the planning tool, here are some tech issues that you may experience that we have some solutions for. So tech issues we know are a feature of all technology and goes right back to analog-based technology found in the first televisions. This short GIF video reminds us of how technical difficulties were communicated in the past. This was something you did not want to see on your telly in the past, if you can remember that far back, as you had no options or workarounds with technical issues back then. Thankfully, today, that is not the case. So that's what we're going to look at now. So tech support is readily available today for many tech issues that arise, including what we saw there on slide, that the security risk and how we can handle that. We'll look at two in particular that arise in relation to the Excel planner when you try to open or download it. The first one is that the security risk on the pink background that you just saw when I opened it there a minute ago, and we're just going to return to that now in a moment. That when I open, you'll also know that there are supports offered by the Microsoft support team will support you and when you follow the steps that are shared. So when you click on that learn more, you will get those particular steps that you see on the screen there. We're going to follow those steps there now. So I'm going to go back to the online downloaded version of the Excel planner and continue that journey with you here on the slide. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it back over here. And what you can see is my online version of exactly, hopefully that's what you're seeing if you have followed the steps so far with me. So the security risk, if you notice that the steps that are advised on screen, and I will just click them down, just bring that down a bit smaller, bring that back off. It says to go to the file explorer itself. So you need to actually go where that file was downloaded on your device. And then what you then need to go is go to properties and go to the general file. So I'm going to do that here for you. And I'll just bring back that version for you. Just drag my slide out here and open that up for you. Okay, so you can see I've already previously downloaded a number of versions, so I want to make sure I go to the correct one. It was number 3 was the one I want to go to now. I'm going to go to properties as advised from the steps. When you click on that learn more into the properties, then it advises me to just literally click on that unblock button. Once I've done that, everything is good to go. So that's just something to be simple steps that are made available and supported by the Microsoft team, and that's what you can see on the slide there. Okay, all right, so the second feature that is important to note is when you do download from a Google Drive, and this is something that you might be doing when you're sharing a downloaded version up to a shared space, like onto a drive, and then when you open it, commonly what happens is that it will open as a Google Sheets file, and the Google Sheets file doesn't tend to have the same functionality. So that's something that you need to be aware of. So what the advice here is that make sure that you click on it and open it as an Excel file. So this is what we would be talking about. In this case here, you can see on screen there that that indeed this has been downloaded from a drive. The evidence that it is a Google Sheets is from the icon on the top left corner. Also, you can see it from what's up in the Google Docs version. So what you want to do is go to your file, hit download, and download it as an Excel file. And that should get rid of the issues, any issues that you have, or any limited functioning that you might have with a Google Sheets. It does depend on the device you're on, because some devices actually work very well, very similar to the Excel file. It's as well as the Google Sheets. So download as the Excel planning tool was designed in Excel, it is best to download it in the Excel version. The functionality may be limited with the Google Sheets, and that's really all what we're trying to show there now. Okay, so we're going to now go back to this online Excel planner that I had downloaded earlier and go through the steps in an order that will help you get started. So once you have and to see the different functions of this tool, once you have the basics set up, you can then play around with the tool yourself to explore its features and functions. Okay, so I'm going to just bring back that downloaded version that I had from earlier. So just make sure I have the correct one that I had opened earlier. And just at this stage, I mentioned the issue around the security risk. Okay, so within the security risk, that what it advises you to do is to have gone and made sure that you clicked unblock, and I have done that already. So at that stage, then you just need to click on the X and X that out, and now you should have the full proper functioning Excel file. Sounds like an awful lot of work, but actually you'll do it quite quickly. It's just when you go to explain it step by step, it sounds like a lot more than that really takes. So it's just to say that there is a lot of technical support out there with any of these features that initially can be a little bit intimidating. First thing I'm going to ask you to do is to go to the instructions sheet of the downloaded file once that you have gotten rid of that security risk issue. And locate the scroll bar down on the right corner of your device. And because the first thing we're going to also do once you're in the file itself is that you need to enable macros. So macros essentially are the code that works in the background in an Excel file, and it allows it to do the different functions that you want it to do. So to enable the macros in your newly downloaded file, that you need to follow the instructions that are in the yellow box there. Maybe we can do this literally here together. Again, what it asks you to do is go to file, and from the file it asks you then to go to options. So I'm going to just follow them through. So I click on options, then it tells you to go to the Trust Center. So click on Trust Center settings, and then macro settings. And what you need to just ensure that you have this enable macros has been ticked, and that has already been done here. Click yourself through the OKs, and now everything should be up and running. In other words, the coding is working in the background in this file, this version of the file that I have now opened. Okay, now let's start looking at some of the functions and features that are available in this Excel planning tool. There's a couple that you can see there that are listed, there are 6 in particular highlighted, the ones in red, green, and red, green, and blue. I'm going to leave you to look at yourself in your own time. So wrapping text, auto fit, row height, and adjustment alignment within cells. So the 3 we're going to look at here straight away now is getting a carriage return in Excel, and what the benefits of that. So that is what that means is it's just going to allow you to extend the size of your cell space and how you do that in Excel. So let's go to the tab that's labeled class details. Left click into one of the cells just to make sure the cursor is activated in there, and then what it advises is to hit Alt and return or enter, and that makes the space bigger. If you want to reverse that, just hit your backspace. Seems quite obvious, but these are specific to how you work in terms of increasing the size of the cell space within this Excel planning tool. The second one that might be useful at this stage as well is renaming a page. So I'm going to select the page name Unit 5 there. It says to double left click on that. So if I double left click on that, it would bring me to that page. And you can see it's also highlighted to that page in a way that I can now change the name for that. And I'm going to change it to my own name. And that has now happened. Okay, and then the last thing that that is useful as when you're getting kind of up and running and started is that unhiding a page. So at the moment, the pages are all identified by the tabs that are on the bottom of the screen, of this Excel screen. And you can see that there are 5, well, there were 5 units. For instance, I've just changed one of the names to my name, as well as the other index, class detail, learning, planning tool, rationale and aim, learning outcomes, engagement and instruction page. They're all the tabs that I can see at the moment. But in fact, there are a lot more there. So how we're going to identify that is if you right click on any of those tabs, and you'll see there's a hide and unhide. So if I click the unhide, you'll actually see that in fact, there are 38 unit tabs available to you in this Excel planner. Okay, and if I want to unhide any one of them, let's say I'll pick say 34 there, and I'm going to unhide it. It should immediately be added to the as a page on the tab on the bottom. Okay, so that's what you can see there. And then just to reverse that, you would just do hide, do the exact same thing again, but click hide. All right, so there are 3 of the functions and features that are available for kind of working and navigating your way around the tool. But probably the most important features are about the tracking that it offers. And also just to be aware that everything that is inputted into this particular Excel file is based on the new specification, the new 135-hour physical education specification that's due out in schools in September 2023. You can see one of the tabs then that says learning outcomes engagement. You will see that all of the learning outcomes are identified by number, and they are worked over grouped into an overview of the 3-year junior cycle plan section, one section there, which gives an overview of the 3 years. And then equally you can see that there is an individual years then identified. So we're going to watch and see what happens when we start to input information now into the class detail sheet and any of the unit tabs. And then we'll come back to this and we'll see what has actually happened. So I'm going to go straight to the class details sheet. And here is hovering your mouse over the different rows and cells will give you an indication of whether there is a drop-down menu or whether you just have to input. So we're going to start away. Let's put some information into this. So I'm just going to call this summer. The name of the school is going to be called Summer School. Keeping it very simple, putting in teachers' names, and you can put in a number of teachers' names. And obviously, if you're starting with an incoming group of first years, there'll just be the one teacher initially. And then as time goes on, the chances are that there was going to be more teachers that will be added. And that's where you would add those teachers' names for the same group of students. So at this point, it's probably a good point to say that each Excel file, it will track one group of students across the 3 years. So this Excel file will be particular to one group of students, and that you will have been the teacher of, and when if they're handed over, that this particular same file for that group of students would then be handed over to another teacher or be shared in whatever way that happens in your own school context. So I'm going to now add in a couple of names here just to identify that, say, if this group is now a couple of years into junior cycle, they may have had experience with a number of different teachers. So I'll just pop in 3 names for the moment, and with the purpose of trying to see how this gets tracked across across the planner itself. So other information like the start of their junior cycle years would be September 2023. Obviously that is because this specification is only out then, and they'll finish therefore in June 2026. Class, group or code names that we're going to put in their name of the group, and we'll call them the Excellers based on our event tonight. Now, is there any other information that needs to go in there at this point? We can always come back anyway, but let me go straight now into Unit 1, and all of that information should have transferred across from the class details. We can see the name of the group. I can see that it's called their school is Summer School. And what else is important here? Now, this highlighted yellow box, which is there to grab your attention straight away, it's important that you have to change that to yes. So for the moment you can see its default is no, but change it to yes. And what that allows is that all the information that is being passed in here now will get tracked into the planner and in across into the index page, which we'll look at in a moment, as well as to the learning outcomes page, which we had a look at a minute ago. The other thing is the year group. So obviously you select the year group. Year 1 is the group here as well. Commencement date, and that is, well, I think that goes in again as September 2020, when I started this unit of learning, and I put it in that date that we started with already. And then duration, and typically we'll say the duration of the unit, this unit of learning, would typically be 6 weeks. Okay, so that's a lot of just basic information just to get from based on the class details, but now we want to get into the specifics of the learning. So prior learning and focus on learning and key learning, all of those boxes are text boxes in which you would have discussions with your colleagues about at this level before it becomes specific to a group of learners. Say for incoming group of first years, what would be the prior learning that we would like to bring to attention, focus on learning and key learning. So I will leave those for the minute because they would be conversations you would have with your colleagues. For now, though, in terms of tracking and locating learning outcomes, they are all available from a drop-down menu. And if we start with literally 1.1 as the first learning outcome in strand 1, and two things to note straight away, that the learning outcome itself is color coded to the poster, and the blue color of competence, which is strand 1, and then the action verb that's in that learning outcome immediately gets populated in the column beside it. So I'm going to add in 2 more learning outcomes, and we just go to one from each of the strands, because we know that nonlinear integrated approach to learning that we have mentioned, is important, that there are learning outcomes selected from across the strands, and that's 2.3 has been populated in there, and we can see that analyze was the action verb in that learning outcome, and that immediately has populated into the column next door. So analyze, study, or examine something in detail. And then the last learning outcome I'll add for now is 3.3. And again, the color coding is happening, that it is orange based on the 3rd strand, which is color coded as orange on the poster that we just looked at, the planning poster we looked at earlier, as well as the analyze coming from the participation, the 2nd strand, which is color coded blue or green. So that's just some of the functions. At this stage, let's revisit that learning outcomes engagement. And now you can see that there's information has now gone into the page. The 3 learning outcomes that we had selected, 1.1, 2.3, and 3.3, have popped in onto the over plan of the 3 years for this particular group of learners, as well as within year 1, because that was placed into a unit that we have called Unit 1. You can change the name if you wish, but they are specific to year 1, because that's what I put in initially on that. So that's just the tracking features that we're seeing is happening at this stage. There is another page that's interesting to note as well at the very start, is this index page, and we'll just come back to that again in the moment. And because I need to go to the top of this planning sheet here. Yeah, here we go. And to make sure that that is indeed gone in as yes. Okay, so all the information that will also start populating into this sheet here as well in a moment, and I'll just come back to that again. Okay, so going back to our class details sheet, if there's any other information that, specific to this group, you do have space there in terms of notes and any other information that needs to be added in there. And I'll just go back again to my unit page here for now, and go down to the lower part of this page here. So we're still working just within 1 unit of learning. I haven't given it a name. That's a conversation again that you have with your colleagues. But the evidence of learning, and how can students experience the learning, and how can learning be assessed. So these are 2 other areas that information can be inputted, and again based on what conversations you would have. And then the reflection section here, what's important here, it looks like a really small box, but it's good to know this box will actually grow with you as you input information. And the final thing there that might be worth noting at this as well is that you can input notes or hyperlinks from resources that you want to share, and into that place there. So if you even take the link that was shared there earlier, that could be popped in there to the resources page on the JCT website, for example. That is, so links and hyperlinks can be added in there. So let me just show how that would work, how that can happen if I grab a link to the JCT page there now. I'm going to pop it in here and just show you how that actually works as well. Okay, and I think I have dropped that page off. 1 second there now, bring that back over. Okay, and if you double click into that, and it allows me then to paste in a hyperlink in there. Okay. All right. All right, so let's just move back to the PowerPoint for a few minutes, because there it'll keep me on tabs about in case there's anything else that I have missed that's important there. So hopefully you're seeing that screen there now. All right, so just to be sure that make sure that this has to be activated, and when you do change a particular index sheet in the planner that is in your unit page, that has to be changed from yes to yes to make sure that information is tracked across the planner to the planning tool. Here's a quick summary then of the key pages that we have looked at, and then I'm going to give you a couple of minutes yourself just to play with the tool and see if you have it open in front of you, and if there are things that you're noticing, and if there's anything you'd like to feed into the chat then that we can maybe help with. So the 4 sheets that we particularly looked at there for now is that in the class details sheet, and that's where you input all the information about a particular group of learners they will then be tracked in that particular Excel file across the 3 years. All that basic information goes in there. Do note when you are putting information, any of them that have drop-down menus, that to make sure that that information is collated. So you might need to hover and move the mouse over cells in the Excel file to see that. The unit page then is, once all the information has gone in for the class details sheet, that information will naturally just come across into the unit page. And then from there, you start to put in the learning outcomes. The action verb automatically is generated. And then from there, you go onto your learning outcomes tracking page, and you could see that the learning outcomes that were inputted onto the unit page had come out. You could see them then onto this learning outcomes tracking page. And then finally, that unit index page that you should see populated into that, the unit that you input information on, the year group, the commencement date, the duration of the unit, and then the name of the group itself, and then the chosen learning outcomes for that particular unit. So hopefully that is all making sense there now. So just give you a couple of minutes there to a kind of a pause and reflect on all of that for the moment.
Bridget, just while everyone's having a go with the Excel in the background, we just have a question in from Dominic about the macros again, and maybe just wondering, would you be able to show that process of how to enable the macros again? Maybe just go through it step by step, where you enable it, then click the apply button, and then hit OK, and it enables the macros. So maybe just to show that process again, where you went to your downloads file and went to the properties of it.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Ger. So enabling the macros, you need to go to the instructions page in the file, your downloaded Excel file. Once you've got the security risk kind of sorted, which we'd gone through earlier, hopefully that all was okay. So what you now need to do is click on the file. If you follow the instructions that are in that yellow background box there, it tells you to go to file and go to options. So if I click on file now and go to options myself, what will appear then on your screen is what you can see now. Hopefully you're seeing that there now. You then go to Trust Center. You then go to Trust Center settings. and then you hit macro settings. Now they're all listed there, and hopefully it happens just as I'm seeing it here, which means I have what I'm having to do is in front of me and the instructions are beside me. Hopefully that is happening like that for you. Once you hit the macro settings, you have to click the Enable Excel 4.0 macro. Once that's done, click OK twice, and that should have everything set up. You may need to file, save and close and open again just to be sure that that's all been activated. That might be something, if it hasn't happened that way, that just, yeah, so sorry, you do need to save and close the file and then reopen. Does that make sense? So if you just, if I can do that here myself for you. So file, I've saved everything there, and sometimes takes a couple of minutes, and then if you close it down and reopen, you'll hopefully see all the and I have just done that there now. Okay, I'm going to reopen the file here myself, that same file again, just to be sure that that is has opened correctly. If you've been going through those steps, that is what is happening for you. Okay, so if you can remember the number on that file that I had, it was because I have a number of them opened on my device. It was the number with the 1 and 3 in the background. You can see that you have a security warning, the enable. The second, as you can see from the instructions sheet here again, when you do reopen it, you will get these security warnings, enable content, and then hopefully that you just have to click that and things are up and running for you. Okay, so hopefully that is all making sense. So I've reopened the same file where I had put in that the learning outcomes and action verbs that we had looked at earlier. And also I'd mentioned earlier that it should have populated into this index page. You can now see that that has happened, that earlier it was, if you notice, it hadn't happened the first time I did it there because I hadn't closed and opened the file. Now you can see that from Unit 1, which I had inputted the chosen learning outcomes 1.1, 2.3 and 3.3. They're now populated into this page. Gives me the other information about the year group, their commencement date, the length of this particular unit of learning, which is Unit 1, and so on. Now, the teacher was the piece of information that I just go back here that I hadn't added in. So if I go back to that Unit 1 page, click on that, and there's a drop down to select the teachers. Now, if you remembered on the class detail page, I put in 3 teachers, Miss X, Mr. Y, and Miss Z. I'm going to put in Miss X there now. And if I go back now to my index page, you'll see that that has popped in there. Okay, there's a couple of other things. There's lots of other little bits and pieces, but for here today, there are a couple of things that you can do, that you can color code the boxes, say with learning outcomes, that if you want to give a different color background, they are options for you. So if you just highlight that and right click, that the options to color code, well, for instance, just the lettering itself, you can color code that, or you can fill the box in the background to different colors. So there's different features that are available that might make sense to you if you prefer to have things color coded, if that's helpful. Okay, if there's anything else there in the chat coming in that I can share before, because I might move back to the PowerPoint, because if I want to get in to share some feedback from those who had trialed the Excel planner so far. But for now, oh yeah, actually there is one other feature I'd like to just bring in. If you noticed here on this learning outcomes tracker page, that we had inputted the 1.1, 2.3 and 3.3 in year 1 with that first group of learners. It goes into the overall year plan for the 3 years, but then it also goes into the individual year 1 plan. If I go back to Unit 1, or actually go into Unit 2, so this would be it's very likely that you would be having a number of units for the same year group. So this same group, Excelers, they're in year 1. I'm going to leave out the other information for the moment, but I'm going to make sure I do activate the tracker, because I've gone into a new unit. So I've hit yes. And I'm actually going to revisit the same learning outcome. So just to show you then what happens in the tracker file. So I'm going to revisit 1.1, and you can see that that is something that they have already visited and done and engaged with in Unit 1. They're now engaging with it in Unit 2. So if I now go to the learning outcomes, what you'll notice is that 1.1, the number has now gone up to 2, and that indicates that for this group of learners that in first year, in year 1, that they had engaged with that same learning outcome twice. And if the same obviously will happen with any of the learning outcomes as you move across the years, this tracker is taking note of how often the same learning outcome has been visited. Okay, and just to go back to the index page, you can see that Unit 2 has now been added in, and it's the same group of learners, and that it also indicates that they have revisited the same learning outcome. Okay, anything else that for now? If not, I will move this off the page, move this off the screen, and just go back to the PowerPoint. If that's okay. Okay, so a quick review of what we have done so far in our exploration of the Excel Digital Planner is that access to the PE Excel Digital Planner was shared with you via the QR code originally on the slide here earlier, and also by the link into the chat, and it brings you directly to the JCT PE website planning section in the website. We know that that supports on enabling macros are in the Excel file itself, and that more supports on the JCTPE website are available, which includes that PDF instruction document and a video on how to use all the functions of the Excel Digital Planner. And you saw that earlier when we looked at that page from the online version of the page. So we know 2 common tech issues then related to the downloading of the Excel file were identified with solutions. And that you saw that when you do download that, you will be faced with that security risk feature. And then if you do download the file from a Google Drive, also they were the 2 key issues, two technical issues that we looked at. Also, tracking features of the planner were demonstrated that are specific to the new 135 RPE specification and can help with gaining familiarity with the language and the learning outcomes and the action verbs of the specification. Assessment and planning is brought into focus in the unit tab with the 2 questions that are based on gathering evidence of learning. And these 2 questions are: how can students experience the learning, and how can the learning be assessed? And the next steps from here are the conversations that you will have with your colleagues in the context of gathering evidence of learning in terms of what might both these questions mean for your students and your school context, and what might the concept then of learning in, through, and about physical activity bring a frame where a frame here for your future discussions and conversations. So that's just to give a kind of a synopsis of what we've done so far in the context of looking and exploring the Excel Planner. So in this next section, we're going to listen to the experiences of educators, and they share their experiences from preliminary trials of the PE Excel Planner that the JCT PE team carried out to gather some initial feedback on the tool's potential. So the next 2 slides identify the benefits of using the Excel Digital Planner. Okay, so just to give a bit of context in this, that the preliminary trials of this PE Excel Planner came from a mini survey, we'd say, across the education sector about the use of this planner and the potential that it does offer. And the most common profile education setting that we got information back from was mixed gender, urban-based, non-DESH school, where there was more than 1 PE teacher with paper-based planning and little cross-curricular collaboration happening. So just take a moment to read down through it. And I'm going to move it on to the next slide because there's some more feedback as well, all in the context of the benefits that were identified. Right, move on to the next one. So the next two slides then identify the limitations of the tool. So again, just take a moment to read down through these. And then just the last page here. Okay, so it's always nice to hear some voices as well. So finally, we're going to hear the voices of some of the teachers who helped with trialing the tool, who share some insights into their initial experiences. And our contributors in the first audio piece are, we have two Anyas, Denise and Con, and digital or paper-based planning is asked about first, where I pose the opening question and then Con leaves us with a question to consider. So just before I do play that, I will just ensure that I have optimized the sound, and I have.
What planning format do you currently use and what works well with that format, digital or paper? How many of us would use a digital planner already?
I'm paper all the way. I've never used digital.
I suppose digital, but different to this.
Google Docs, and I have the old planning document for the 3-year plan, and then use the reflection one, and it's the reflection one that I use the most. So after every unit, reflect on it and learn from the next time.
How does this help make the management of planning easier and more effective, more productive?
Okay, in our second audio piece, it shares some of the initial benefits experienced by teachers who trialed the Excel planning tool. And you're going to hear from Ger, Claire and Denise in this second audio. And this piece, it focuses in on the tracking function of the Excel planner.
We had to construct our own planning tool 20 years ago when we were finished in relation to how somebody would track the learning of the learning outcomes and their engagement with that. And that's automatically done there for you. And it's brilliant. Like,
you know, for myself, when I see Excel, I'm like, oh God, I don't have a clue, but this is actually quite intuitive. Even just populating how would you go to the spec and use it with this or whatever and pick out prior learning, what it might be.
We were digital, but not on the Excel platform at all. It would always have been like, well, it was Word documents, and then we would have shared them on the school drive. And then in more recent years, we moved from the school drive then into Microsoft Teams. And we kind of just had a rule for like editing that we just changed color.
I think this would be even more user friendly if there was a couple of just edited bits. It would be class to just have everything on the one document and to be able to go in, you know, if I hand it over to someone else, they see how many learning outcomes and everything. It looks really good and really, really easy to use.
And in this last audio, Denise shares her thoughts on the potential of using Excel to plan learning and some realities about how things might happen.
We all know the context of every single school and every class is different. So, we'll be given a generic one, but you'd have to change it. Nobody is going to be able to just copy and paste and say, oh, I'll go off and teach my first years this exact thing. So I think it would be so useful to fill in as they've done in the technology one. And it just becomes so more realistic of, oh yeah, that's what I put in there and that's where I fill in there. And then you'll come up with your activities and your, teaching methodologies or whatever, but just so you're clear on this is my plan and this is what I need to put in each section. It just makes it so much more, so much easier.
So thanks again to Anya's, Ger, Claire and Denise for their contribution in those audio pieces. And so what might be the real potential of using Excel as a digital planner? Could it help with a more favourable work-life balance? And fingers crossed, the picture here is telling the true story. So I'm going to hand over to my colleagues here, or to Anya, my colleague here, Anya, in the room, and Ger, who are going to field some of the questions out of the chat, if there's anything in particular that came to attention. Before we do share that Excel or in MS Form to gather some feedback, hand it over to you to give us your thoughts through this feedback form in just a moment. I'll share that now through the QR code, and then we'll go back to the questions. Just do note that some of the questions invite feedback based on a trial period with the tool. If you would like to give further feedback following a trial period with the tool, you can input into this feedback form more than once. And this is not expected, but it would be hugely appreciated. So as I say, I'll hand over now to Anya and Ger, who are going to maybe bring a couple of questions that came in through the chat to our attention.
Thanks so much, Bridget, and thanks for taking us through that piece with the Excel planning tool. We've had a few really good questions in on the chat. About the functionality of the tool and how it can practically be used in your school setting. So a good question that we had in here from Anne-Marie was, so this planning piece, is it just for one class or is it for your entire, year 1, year 2 and year 3? So I suppose in response to that, and thanks so much for that question, Anne-Marie, obviously we are starting with this new specification for 135 hours with our first year students this September. And the idea of this planning tool is that it will follow them through their journey of junior cycle. So regardless of if they have a new teacher next year, if you have that group this year, you will be planning for them this year, but then you can pass that planning file over to their teacher next year and say, this is exactly what was done in first year. These are the learning outcomes that we're engaged with. These are the units that were done for them, done with them. And they can see the engagement there, and then they can see, okay, where is this journey going to take them in second year? So that was a really good question there. Obviously, if you wanted to duplicate the planning for say multiple classes in the same year group, that's an option, okay, but that would be kind of a local decision that you might make, within your school. So you might say within your school, okay, actually we're going to keep each class in first year on a fairly similar planning document, but you also have the option to stray from that as well. So that was a really good question that came in there. So thanks a million for that, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, I might come in there, Bridget, maybe just one or two. There's a question there from James just around the security warning and just a fearful, when you see security warnings coming up on platforms, maybe just the origins of that. I suppose it's an inbuilt safety feature into Microsoft applications where they just ask the user of the file if you actually want to enable macros. The reason being, some malicious emails or spam emails, what they use is they use macros as a way of embedding malware or virus files onto your computer. So what Microsoft is just the built-in safety feature. It's asking the user if you're actually confident and comfortable to turn on macros. Are you happy with the origin of the file? So I can absolutely 100% guarantee that there is no malware, or there's no spyware, or there's no viruses embedded in the Excel files. You're 100% safe to enable those macros for using this file. We have another question just in then. Is it only learning outcomes that you have to fill out? I know that's what Bridget showed this evening here, but there is many other sections on the Excel file, like prior learning, the focus on learning, and identifying key learning, and also to capture the students' learning experience. So it's highly encouraged that the teachers would capture that information in this file as well, and that will follow across the year group. I think that was it. Oh, we had another question in there. Just it's just after landing. Will there be a level 2 planner rollout? And that was from Porrick. So I think in Porrick on our website, gct.ie, our level 2 program section, there is a planning section in there with files detailed specifically to planning for level 2 learning programs, specifically around activating the 5 PLUs. If that's your question, I think that may be your question. So hopefully that answers that. And that is the most of the questions that just after coming in. If there is any more questions, please add them in and we'll try our best to get them answered for you. So I'll hand it back over to Bridget now.
I just got one more question. Sorry, Bridget, to interrupt. Just one more question that came in from Jonathan. Thanks a million, Jonathan, for the question. So the question was, is this planning tool specifically for the new 135-hour specification, or is it around the short course or around the 2003 syllabus? So it's all around the 135-hour specification. So I suppose currently none of our students in our schools are following the 135-hour spec, and I'm actually just going to drop the link to that spec into the chat there. I'm sure you all already have it, but just in case you'd like a link to it. So this planning tool is all about getting us ready for our first year students in September 2023, for whom the 135-hour spec will be available for. And the link to the spec has just gone into the chat there. So if you wanted to have that downloaded, that might be a good idea there as well. So good question. It's all around the 135-hour spec. It's not looking towards the short course or the syllabus.
Good. Anya, we just have to get another question in there from Kieran. When I click on the Excel tab, I cannot edit it at all. It says the Excel has found an error. So I would think what that is, Kieran, is that the macros have to be enabled. So as Bridget highlighted there, you go to the properties, you go to the trust center, enable macros. And I think the important thing then you have to do is you have to actually save that Excel file onto your desktop, close out the Excel file, and then reopen it. And that kind of resets or recalibrates the Excel file, and the macros should be enabled in the background. And then it should automatically populate your index page. If you have any further issues, please come back to us. But that step that will solve 99% of any issues with the Excel file. Jovita asks, do you have to leave the macro settings enabled in order to use the Excel file? Yes. So basically, when you enable the macro settings on this Excel file, when you do it once, that's it. That setting is maintained every single time you use that Excel from there forward. So you only have to enable the macros once, and that's it. So you can close it down, open the file again, and the macros will always be running in the background. Okay.
Yeah. And you probably saw that actually, Jared, just to pick up on that, when I had opened it fresh download, went through it live there, I stuck with the same file, but when you noticed when I went into the enable macros piece, it was already ticked, and that was because I had previously opened a separate file on my device. Yeah, so exactly that. So it means that you don't have to keep doing that step. And I know it seems like we've spent quite a bit of time on the technical issues, and I think that is important. It comes across as taking an awful lot longer, because when you're just demonstrating step by step, it actually all happens in seconds, really quickly for most cases, unless there's some other issue maybe going on with your device or otherwise. But it happens quite quickly, I have to say, I suppose we've taken the time to go through it just for it not to put you off, and that because to be able to access the benefits of this tool.
But just another thing, we just have to get another question in from Marie. We'll take it there now. I suppose it's important to note as well that the end file, that that file at the very end that shows the progression over the 3 years, it shows the total engagement with learning outcomes, and then it breaks down to yearly, year 1, year 2, year 3. I suppose one of the benefits of that, it will highlight very, very quickly for you if you have not engaged or activated learning for students around a particular learning outcome. So let's say you're in year 2 and you may see, oh, we haven't engaged learning around learning outcome 2.7, for example. So it quickly highlights that any gaps in your planning are quickly visible on this, and you can see them very quickly. So Marie asks, in terms of assessment, what does it allow you to include? So the actual Excel planner allows you to track your assessment methodologies. What would you like as a teacher to include? And I think the most important thing for me with this, it allows you to capture your reflections. So you may decide that a particular type of assessment worked particularly well with this year group, or you may decide to capture a reflection that maybe I'll try doing this assessment slightly tweaked in future. So there is the function to embed an audio piece as well. You can use the audio piece and save an audio file into the actual Excel file, or you can type it out freely, or you can do a doodle and take a picture of it and upload it. So there's really any possible way that you can capture your own thoughts around assessment, Marie. So I hope that answers that. Question there, I missed the first 15 minutes of the video. Can you advise where I can download the Excel file from? And thank you. So yes, this webinar is being recorded, so the whole webinar will be downloaded, and we're going to have it up online in the coming days on the PD section of the website. Where you can get the materials from this evening is you can log on to jct.ie, go into the physical education section, which is under the wellbeing tab, top of the screen, go into physical education, then click on the planning tab, and at the very top of that page, all the files relating to tonight can be found there. So hope that helps you out there. Okay.
And I've just popped the link in there to that, Ger, for Agneta, I think, was worrying about that as well. Okay, so I think we're almost at the hour, lads. Where we are, we're just gone a minute past the hour. I do, just other than to say a big thanks to everybody for engaging here, and hopefully that was of help. The recording of this will be available in time on the JCT website.
Very good. And just if anyone is using the Excel planner over the next couple of days, if you have any feedback or suggestions of ways it could be improved, please do share them with Anya, Bridget, or indeed myself. We'd only be too happy to receive that, and then we will update the file as necessary on the website. So if you do have any feedback, we'd love very much to hear it. And that is that. I'll hand it back over to Bridget.
Yeah. Okay. And just on that there, that's the link. That's the QR code for that. I'll pop the link back into the chat again for that form, that feedback form. Really would appreciate anything at all. And equally in terms of how we might be able to support you. We will go down through the feedback, but equally if you want to email us, you'll get our email addresses from the JCT website page, and for any follow-up, we'll be more than welcome or more than happy to help you in that space as well. I'll just put the link to that feedback into the chat as well, just so you have both versions in case the QR code is not an option for you. Okay, I think that's me done anyway. Thanks Anya and Ger for the support in the background there as I was going through the different steps, and thanks so much for fielding all the questions there. So anybody else, if there's anything else, just other than that, we're good to go.
Thanks very much. Good evening everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks everybody. Enjoy your evening.